welcome back to Lessons Learnt. I'm Sherry, and this is Monday Quilt Chat, where we see what's going on in my quilty world and in the quilting world in general. So, all the little chit chat about all the quilty stuff. Last time I saw you was on Finish It Friday, where we enjoyed a quilt show there, and I had gotten nothing done up until that point. But I have made a little bit of progress. This is Mr. Blue with me here. He knew I was getting ready to start the video, and he jumped up in my lap and says, I want to say hi. He really did, believe it or not. He's not had a rough weekend. He never has a rough weekend. We had a visitor. We had a furry visitor. We dog sat for a day and a half, 2 days total maybe. And, you know, Blue's an only child. So, you know, he was a little bit annoyed with the situation, and we're still trying to mend our relationship here. But yeah, he's glad to be back as an only fur child, and yeah, heard me getting ready for the video and wanted to jump up. I think he knows what that means. He could possibly get to sit on my lap for a few seconds. Is that right, Blue? Are you ready to take your nap? He was out running around before he came in just a minute ago, so I would say he's probably ready for another nap after chasing all those squirrels. Where are the squirrels? Where's the squirrels, Blue? Where's the squirrels? Yeah, those squirrels are your nemesis, aren't they? He just can't seem to eradicate not even one of them. Okay, there you go. Have a seat. Lay down. Good boy. Good boy. Good night. Alright, so the Jolly Bar 5 sampler, I added another one to that. I was trying so hard to get this to show up. See this white thing here? Well, it's not really white. I used one of the prints in this layer cake. But the fact that I put this light one right here, see if I put my hand over it, you can't tell. It made it look a little weird. So there's two prints, because there's half square triangles. There's two of the same print, and that used like 8 prints. So I didn't have a whole lot to choose from as far as getting all dark ones or all medium ones. I had to throw some lights in. But I'm just going to leave it. It bothers me, but it doesn't bother me enough to where I will hate it. So, yeah. So if you remember Jolly Bar 5, I think I showed you all of these already. There's several of these and one of those. It's a small quilt. It won't be too much longer before this one is wrapped up as well. I did do some of my embroidery on the Abloom panel. I did that while sitting in the house in the evening. And then also our project for Wednesday, from Wednesday's video. You know, this one, the feature block one. I got 14 of these done. And then the rest of them that I need, the other 18, I have half done. So all I have to do is sew these up. Yeah, it takes 2 of each of these to make a block. So I have 18 of these to finish. But you might say they're half finished, so to speak. So getting there on that. Now we will finish that up, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. So we'll have our rows together, and we will also be putting the border on it. So yeah, made that one in 2 parts. Get you up here where you can, my head's in the middle. This Wednesday, we're going to continue on with Garden Charm. And we will be doing this blue right here. But you will have a month to do it. How many of you are doing the Garden Charm with me? Put that down in the comments. I would really like to know. Also, if you would like to post your progress on the Facebook group, that link is in the description box always. And so, yeah. I'm wondering though, I think we did make these already, didn't we? I think we might be putting that on. Yeah, well, we will have to. We'll be making the blue pieces and then using 4 of the stars that we've already made from another week. So, yeah, it's getting there, isn't it? Then after that, we'll get to do those applique ones. That's really going to add a lot to it. So, looking forward to that. However, this coming Wednesday, yes, this coming Wednesday is that. Next Wednesday is finishing this. Yeah, let me just keep myself straight here. So, yeah, that's what I did this weekend. I also printed out my summer wedding pattern that I'm using for my fair quilt for next year. I just printed off the pattern. That's all I did on that. I did a lot of straightening up in the house, not only in non-sewing areas, but in sewing areas as well. So I got the long arm is all, the table's all cleared off, nothing on the bars, and did some sweeping and dusting and things like that in there. Did a little bit of scrap processing. There's something I want to show you about using long strips of batting, because that's something that long arming people have an abundance of. Seems like you'll have the long strips and then sometimes across the bottom and the top that, you know, maybe they're sizable, but they're not enough to make a quilt with unless you sewed all the pieces together or connected them. However, there's many methods to connecting pieces of batting together, as you know, but there's something you can do with just keeping the strips in the strip form and then doing a quilt as you go. And I want to do that in the upcoming future, show you either as a clip in another video like Monday Quilt Chat or on Friday. I don't know that it would be a full Wednesday video, but because it's just so simple to explain how to do it. So look for that coming up. And even non-long arming people, if you do yours on the domestic, you also are going to have the same issue. You've got these long, kind of thin pieces on the sides of your quilt once you cut, you know, trim down your quilt once you've quilted it. So there's that. There's something you can do with those instead of just, I was just cutting some of them up in squares for quilt as you go projects maybe in the future, but that's a lot of work not knowing really what you're going to do with it. Now I think I know what I'm going to do with just the strips without having the work of cutting them up into little pieces. Recent acquisitions. My mailing has not come for the 2 orders that I've made. I have one out for Green Fairy quilts, and that's going to be here today. And then there's another one from Bear Creek in Oregon coming. And then I also ordered the thread on Connecting Threads. They had a thread sale come up this past weekend. I don't think the sale's still up, but they had Omni thread for less than $10 for the big spools. And free shipping if you put in the code. I had that out there on the Facebook group, so if you use Omni thread for long arming or even on your regular machine, that's a great price. I've never seen it that let's just say it, cheap. I've never seen it that inexpensive. So I ordered up some backups of some natural white and cream, and then I ordered a couple of new colors to have in my long arming thread stash for who knows what. You know, we try to get all those colors because you never know when you might need one. And just as soon as you decide, you know, I'm just going to sew with white or cream, you decide I need a color, and then you have to stop everything and order it. So my colors are coming along. I'm getting a pretty good arsenal of long arm thread, different colors. But you always need that natural white and cream and the 3 different grays, light, medium, and dark. All of that. So I did order. So I had 3 orders out. Surely by next week I'll have at least one or 2 of those. We'll see. So look for a big recent acquisitions next week. I do have the Sew Sampler box. Now I'm 1 day early. Today, Monday, is the 29th. We're not supposed to show it till the 30th. But I would bet everybody that's going to get theirs, unless it's lost in the mail, has it already. If you don't have yours yet, just skip forward until you don't see this box anymore. I'll try to raise it up, and that'll tell you that I'm done talking about it. I'm going to go ahead and show the contents of it. I know there's been a lot of videos out already. You may have already seen what's in it, but if not, you may be interested just because. This one's called Bees and Braids, September 2025. The coupon is receive a free 9-inch jelly braid paper with your next $40 purchase. They also have the Socialites 3 quilt-along information. You can use the QR code to go in and look at that. They're going to have a video on it October 10th. It'll be a live stream. And then there's an extra pattern out here called Jelly Roll Cabin. I'm not sure what kind. Oh, this could be used from the jelly roll that they sent. So how happy was I to get a jelly roll? Ha ha ha. It's pretty fabric. It's sun-drenched by Moda, and it is designed by Sweetfire Road. Of course, I'm not going to open that. But it's blues, creams, a couple of golds in there, and then some other little bit larger prints there. So there's a extra pattern here for it. If you don't want to use, well, that's just coming out weird. If you don't want to use this is 5-inch jelly braid paper. So this makes that braided effect, as you can see right here. And you can use a jelly roll to accomplish that with this helpful paper. They have 5-inch and 9-inch. So on the card here it said the extra savings for having gotten the box is a free 9-inch jelly braid paper with a $40 purchase. So I don't know what the price is of the jelly braid paper by itself. Doesn't say on here, but it's probably pretty good savings, I'd say. These kinds of things are usually, what, $13 to $15 a piece? And it goes in the garbage, you know, because you sew on it and then you pull it off. We have a seam ripper from Clover. It's a pink, and it has a lid on it. My light is really weird today. So Clover makes good, sturdy seam rippers. I think that's what I'm using right now, isn't it? No, I'm using a Missouri Star. But this is pretty nice. And then the ones with the lids are good for taking with you, like, you know, if you want to go sew with your group at your quilt store or go to a retreat. Quilt project book. I wanted to see this. I've never really looked at this. I've seen it online on Fat Quarter Shop for sale, and I just wanted to see what the pages looks like. So maybe you would like to see that as well. It's thin. There's not a whole lot of pages here, but how many projects should you really have going at the same time? All of them, right? Here's what it looks like. So here's project number 49. Let me see if I can get this light to be better. Here we go. So you have your name of your project, the fabric, the designer, the pattern, the quilted by, the size. I have to look now, I can't read that. The start date and the end date, and then you can check off whether it's done or not. It would be a good diary type thing, wouldn't it? Like, okay, I'm just putting these projects in here. Here's a list, project list. My goodness, my lighting. I can't get it right. I don't know if that helped or made it worse. My project list. So that's just one long list. And there's several pages of this. It goes up to 125. And then here's where you start with your individual quilts. So there's a little checkoff box. So if you listed your quilts in here, and then once you had them all done, you would have a record of everything that you had done. So after doing that many, 150, you can put 150 quilts in this. And the back sides are used as well of the paper. So that's kind of a neat little thing to have. Maybe I could start that in January. I don't know. And then you could have one of these for a series of years, because some of you might make 150 quilts in a year, but I don't think I will. Maybe 20 tops. I mean, at most 20. I would make 20. I would finish 10 of them completely, like quilted and bound. I don't know. Maybe I'll do more than that. I don't know. I have to think about how I want to use this. Let's see. Here's the pattern with the braid. It's a table runner, Dutch braids table runner. So that's with this fabric and this paper. Cute. I might try that. I wonder how much this will go, how much you can make with this. 5-inch wide finished. I mean, you'd want to use quite a lot of them. Perfect for scraps and pre-cuts, including jelly rolls, layer cakes, and fat eighths, fat quarters, and more. Use it for rows, borders, and more. Instruction sheet included. 50 feet per roll. 50 feet. But that doesn't really tell you how much it would be if you sewed it all up. There's probably more in that than this takes, for sure, I'd say. 21.5 by 52.5. Let me see how many pages it says to use. It just says get the triangles on a row. It doesn't say how many. Oh, Dutch braid strip to measure 5.5 by 48.5. Interesting. Here's how you would do that. See this piece? Make 3 of those. 17.5 by 48.5. Okay. I might have to just experiment with this paper just to, just something different. Here is the Feeling Freesia block. Freesia is a flower. This is part of the flowering sew along within the Sew Sampler box. So there's 1 pattern per month. And so we already have quite a few done. This is number 6. So we have 5 done. These are big, big blocks. This one, there are 18.5 by 18.5. I'm curious to see what I'm going to do with that on my colors. Yeah, these big old blocks, I tell you, I don't know if I'm going to have enough fabric or not, but I can always substitute something else. But yeah, I need to make that this week probably. And that is it. So let's go over what things cost. The jelly roll is $26.98. The notebook is $13.98. The seam ripper is $5.48. The pattern is $9.98. And the monthly pattern is, I think they say it's valued at, it's $4.98. And then the paper is $16.98. $16.98. So I need to figure out 50 feet. And they want you to make 3 48.5 inches. So that's 4 feet. 4 times 3, that's 12 feet. So you could make approximately 3 of those table runners with this. Does that sound about right? I don't know if my math is right or not. So, yeah, I might get a few projects out of it. Smaller projects. Or you could use the whole thing and make a bigger size quilt. But that is the Sew Sampler box for this month. You can get it for, I think it's my bill when I pay it, when they send me the invoice, is, I think it's $37.76 or something like that. That includes all the postage and everything. So I think it's $29.98 or $29, almost $30 plus the little bit of shipping. So that's why it's about $37. But I like it. It seems to have practical things in it. And, occasionally they'll give you a large Aurifil thread, and that kind of keeps me going in neutral thread. Usually it's neutral, not always, but yeah. The last few boxes have had, a neutral thread that you can use for piecing. So I enjoy that if nothing else. And then I'm in the sew along, the flowering sew along. So that'll end up being a quilt. And then I have all the pre-cuts and the extra patterns and notions that they send. Granted, I've not made a ton of the projects from it other than the sew along one. So I need to do something about that. Either pass those projects along or get to making them. I don't always like what they have in there. The fabric's beautiful. The patterns are okay. It seems like a lot of the It's So Emma patterns, I'm not down on them because a lot of people like these, but they have a lot of negative space. A lot of white and bright and light in the background. A lot of background, and I don't know, I should just go with some colorful backgrounds and just go ahead and put them together that way, and maybe I'd like their patterns a little bit more, but something to think about for next year. That list is getting very long, isn't it? I'm planning also on starting my long arm, what do I call it, extravaganza in November. So we're in October. Well, we're not in October, are we? October will be Wednesday. So Wednesday will be in October. we'll have that month, November and December, long arm extravaganza. So I'm going to get caught up on long arm projects, things I need to get finished and bound for the year. So I think that's kind of where my mind was headed when I was in there cleaning this weekend, is I need to get this area cleaned up and organized again so that I can be in a good spot for doing that. So I think I still had a handful of quilt tops left from last year that I didn't finish. I thought I would just jump in and finish. And I'll tell you what happened, and I'm not saying this is an excuse, but when Mark started doing quilts, you know, he wants his quilts done in a video or in a short series of videos. He did do some longer ones, but, you know, to get his series finished up, he wants them long-armed, and then he binds them too. So I feel like most of what I've long-armed this year has been his projects and a few of mine as I've chosen to do them. But yeah, they're stacked up again. They're stacked up again. They really are. I don't have anything else I wanted to share with you this week. I kind of sat and thought for a minute, you know, what to chat about today, but I don't really have anything I wanted to teach you or tell you that's coming up or anything like that. Everything seems to be in a pretty stable state right now. And I appreciate all of your all's comments on last week's Monday Quilt Chat, understanding all of that about boundaries. It seems like we are all on the same page about that, and that's what I suspected, and yeah, everything's hunky-dory with the channel. I'm happy with how it's all going and all of you. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do the art quilt of the week. It might be a little bit of a shorter video for Monday, but that's okay. They can't all be long and windy. Let's see. Yeah, Black Diamond Spirals here is the art quilt of the week. I'll put one picture right here. 86 by 86. It says this is by Bill Hornke of Stoughton, Wisconsin. Stoughton. Even though Bill used a pattern from Claudine Hanson, he chose a different design layout, making the pattern more his own. More fun was added into the quilt since he and some friends swapped fabrics, allowing variety to come into the picture. Bill has shown the quilt in the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show in Madison, Wisconsin. So good for him making it his own. That's what I like to do too if I can. Not all patterns lend themselves to a lot of change, but sometimes just a real simple quick change or turn of a block can make it totally different, and you know, it's your design at that point. So we use those patterns as guides sometimes more than we do as a pattern. So we can see here that he's got some nice black and white varied prints throughout in those black diamonds, and then inside each diamond area is a colorful 4-patch. And then the opposite block, actually it's part of that turn. There's a couple of different colored squares in there too. It's very interesting. It would be interesting to study this and see how it goes together. But it looks very nice, and yeah, hung in the quilt show in the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. So that was no doubt thrilling for him, and he got to see his beautiful quilt there hanging. So black and white with anything creates a really, really nice quilting statement, if you will. I think so. Even especially actually scrap quilts. If you have a varied abundance of squares or triangles or whatever you want to use that are scraps, strips, something like that, throw some black and white in between somehow, and you've got a neat design. You really do. So very good. Gets our quilting juices flowing for the week. So I hope you had a fruitful weekend as well in your sewing room. I feel like I did. I'm going to continue on with some embroidery in the evenings, and also getting my other 18 blocks done. And I might spread that out a little bit and do some other things with it. And then also doing the Sew Sampler, the flowering block this week. And no telling what else I might get into that I'll have to talk about with you on Friday. But come back on Wednesday for the garden charm. I'll show you how to put that next section together. And we'll have our quilt getting bigger and bigger as each month goes by. All right, get in the sewing room, get some things done. Maybe you just need to do what I did in there with the long arm. Just get everything straightened up so you can think and head right on into something else. So that's what I wish for you this week, and to continue on with the projects you've already started. All right, we'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great week. Bye.